Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another video of Green Square Talks Battlebots. Yeah, I am here with my episode 14 predictions, and you might be wondering why I'm showing off a top 16 bracket when this was the last episode. The truth is that the next slide will feature the top 8, and because I know this is a bit of an early prediction podcast compared to my last many, so I just wanted to give the chance and just say that if you have not seen the recent episode, do not go any further into this video because it'll spoil the outcomes of these 8 fights right up there, and I don't want to spoil anything for you all. So I am warning you right here that the outcomes of the last episode will be spoiled on the next slide if you keep watching this video. But if you've already seen it, enjoy this prediction podcast. So, yeah, one last episode of the main competition. Crazy that the main competition of this season is already almost over. So, yeah, basically, we're going to see somebody hoist a giant nut at the end of this episode, and we know based off of the outcomes of the recent episode that it's going to be somebody new. So, anyway, I'm going to quick switch slides over. Okay, there you go. So these are the top 8, the 8 remaining robots in Battlebots 2021. Honestly, any of these 8 robots could take it, in my opinion, because all 8 of these robots have some key strengths, a few weaknesses that their opponents will be looking to take advantage of, but most importantly, they all have the potential to win 3 fights in this next episode in order to win it all. So, yeah, the objective of this one is we're going to start off going through these 4 fights, the only 4 fights that I'll be talking about that are confirmed to be happening. I do plan to talk about the final 4 fights and the grand final based off of my predictions, but just know that those are just predictions. Like I would be shocked if I get all 4 of these fights, if I can predict all 4 of these fights right, because like I said, there's so much potential within all 8 of these robots to win the whole thing. So really anybody, so many of these matchups could go either way. So yeah, before I get started and start talking about Minotaur versus Witch Doctor, be sure to reply down below with your predictions and who you think out of the 8 remaining robots is going to hoist the giant nut at the end of this episode. So yeah, this will be a fun time. So let's go ahead and get to the first one where we got Minotaur versus Witch Doctor. So this is a rematch from 2018, and just like Minotaur's last fight where they got a rematch with Endgame. Anyway, this is a tough one to call in my opinion because while Minotaur did give Witch Doctor a big whooping in 2018, both of those robots have evolved a lot since that moment. If I took a good guess, Minotaur's probably going to go with a similar configuration to what they went with for the endgame fight. Witch Doctor, I feel like they're going to go with Reach or something like that. I haven't heard a strategy from from all 8 of these robots on their next match yet, which doesn't surprise me because I'm recording this thing 2 days after the last episode premiered. So, yeah, you kind of get the idea there. But yeah, my prediction is going to be I'm going to go Minotaur for this one. Minotaur is my prediction for who I think is going to win it all. And I think Minotaur will have this one and be able to take out Witch Doctor like what they did with Endgame a second time. But I definitely could see this one going the other way. I'm not making this prediction just because we saw Endgame beat Witch Doctor earlier in the season. We just saw Minotaur beat Endgame. Because Witch Doctor could very easily take this one too. Because yeah, where I'm personally going with this one is I think Minotaur is more likely to do damage between the two of them, but I think a weapon on weapon exchange will probably be won by Witch Doctor if these two happen to go weapon on weapon. Because most of the time, when a vertical disc spinner and a drum spinner go weapon on weapon, the vertical disc spinner is probably going to win that weapon on weapon exchange. But that could be different here, because we have seen Minotaur win weapon on weapon exchanges with vertical spinners in the past, so. Yeah, so this should be an interesting fight. I'm going to go Minotaur with this one, but I'm expecting this one's probably going to be a pretty chaotic fight. And Yeah, I think this one could be the leadoff battle between the four of them. I wouldn't be shocked if it's not, as we got three other good fights in here. So, but yeah, my pick's gonna be Minotaur. Next up, we got Sawblaze and Riptide, and wow, Riptide shocked me with, like, even though I did predict Riptide to win against Uppercut, it shocked me how dominant they were in that fight. Like, they won the first hit against Uppercut, and then they just didn't let up. And then like a minute later, we saw foam from Uppercut's tires just all over the arena. But now Riptide will definitely have a bigger challenge here in Sawblaze, who has been absolutely ruthless to so many of their opponents so far. So, kind of how I feel about this one, I am actually going to go spicy with this one. I'm going to pick Riptide for this. So, where I'm kind of going with this one is like, on one hand, Sawblaze is going to have to be probably more careful with Riptide than they were in any of their other fights in terms of timing with that hammer saw. Because like if those two go weapon on weapon, Riptide is almost certainly going to win that weapon on weapon exchange, and we possibly could see the hammer saw break. And yeah, that if the axle like hits the egg beater of Riptide, we could see that hammer saw get separated from the body of Sawblaze. But yeah, what I'm kind of going for here is if Riptide, just knowing Ethan's driving tactics that he's been using to win a lot of his fights so far, basically, like if he can land an early hit on Sawblaze, like onto those forks or something like that, he's probably not going to let up, and he's probably going to keep hitting them and try to go for those exposed wheels. But then on the other hand, if Sawblaze tries to go in there with ground game and stuff, he's probably going to win the ground game between the two of them. Try to scoop up Riptide, try to control the fight. But it's still a difficult task because Riptide could easily execute a driving strategy to hit Sawblaze before they could get scooped up with that egg beater. And that's kind of what I'm going for with this prediction, because yeah, like including let's see, where am I trying to go with this next? So yeah, so basically, like, I think in terms of, like, weapon power, Riptide, hands down, probably wins that one with a lot of the damage they've been able to cause to all their opponents. But I don't want to underestimate Sawblaze, just knowing Sawblaze has taken out so many big names and so dominantly, too. Like, I do think Sawblaze is a little bit underseeded on this bracket, because even though they did go 2-1 in the regular season, the strength of schedule that robot had, including their two dominant victories, was like absolutely incredible. So right now, I think this one's going to come down to who can get the big hits in, who can deal the most damage between the two of them. Because we know if these two go head on, I don't know what to expect, to be honest. Because like on one hand, we could see Riptide get scooped up by Sawblaze, but Sawblaze is going to have to be careful, like I said, about the timing of that hammer saw. Because like I said, they probably don't want to go weapon on weapon. But then if those two go ahead on, the other possibility is Riptide could possibly get a big hit in. Like if let's see, how do I want to try to explain this? So like if Riptide can go in and connect on one of those forks with the egg beater, rather than like those two sides of their robot where like the wedgelets or whatever they have there are. If the egg beater can hit those forks before like the wedgelets, they could possibly get a big hit in on Sawblaze before, but who knows? So anyway, I'm gonna predict Riptide for this one, but this one's gonna be a driving and tactical fight, so it should be a fun one. Let's go ahead and move on to the flipper battle, where we have Hydra and Blip. So yeah, two of the predictions I got wrong in the last episode happen to be these two, where these two flippers took out two of my fantasy robots, unfortunately. So, but whatever, it's fun. Whatever, though. I always love to see a good flipper battle. So this one's gonna come down to who can win the ground game between the two of them. And there are like 6 to 8 robots that I feel like really specialize in winning the ground game, and two of those are Hydra and Blip. Two of the others are Sawblaze and Tantrum. So Yeah, and then another one's Endgame, Copperhead. Uh, yeah, you get the idea. So anyway, with Hydra and Blip, I think this one's going to come down to who can win the ground game. I would probably lean towards Hydra, but I'm way less confident than when I did a prediction podcast over the last episode and was sure that Hydra would win the ground game against Black Dragon. So, yeah, my guess would be Hydra would win the ground game, but here's why I'm actually thinking about predicting Blip for this one. So, the reason why I'm predicting Blip is, like, the big thing we don't know yet is how well can Hydra take a flip? Because, like, the highest we've ever seen Hydra really fly was a few feet in the air that Glitch sent them flying. Whiplash gave them a little bit of air, a small amount of air time, but either way, we haven't seen Blip or we haven't seen Hydra go flying like what we've seen other robots go flying. Even like Blip, we've already seen it go flying before when it was self-righting after during the overhaul fight. So I'm pretty sure Blip can take a flip or two from Hydra. But I think this is going to come down to durability. Who can take the flips better? Who can win the ground game? And some of those durability concerns that I've been talking about with Hydra is why I'm actually going to predict Blip for this one. But then the other thing I could keep in mind here is Blip has also been the more consistent robot between the two of them. Because like the only fights that Hydra has really been like, let's see, how do I say this? At 100% are Defender and Ribot. Because like there are three opening round matches, there was something wrong with the robot, including in the Gruff victory. And then in the Black Dragon fight in the last episode, they didn't have drive for they were having drive issues for almost the entirety of the fight, which I do give Jake a lot of credit for driving that fight as well as he did, even with that issue. So yeah, anyway, consistency and that concern is why I'm going to predict Blip for this one and why I'm going to predict them to go into the Final Four. But I will admit I am on the bubble with this one. Between the other three fights in this round, like I know who I'm going with. Like I'm locking that prediction in. But with Hydra and Blip, I'm on the bubble with that one. Like while I am recording this prediction podcast now, I might consider flipping over to the Hydra train, but yeah, right now my prediction is going to be Blip for this one, and I expect we're going to see an entertaining flip off for this one. So moving on now, the last of the top 8 battles, we have Cobalt versus Tantrum. Okay, so yeah, Tantrum being the last of the 3 robots that busted my second chance bracket. So yeah, they're up against Cobalt here. So yeah, so my prediction is I'm going to go with my dark horse pick and go with Cobalt for this one right off the bat. And here's why. So, one thing I've been concerned about with Tantrum over their past 2 fights has been while they're definitely built like a brick and able to take hits, they seem to be having drive issues within their past few fights because like they definitely were having drive issues within portions of the rotator fight, but then their drive kicked back in, whatever the issue was, fix themselves or something like that. But either way, though, I do have a few concerns regarding Tantrum's drive for a fight like this, and that's gonna be something to watch in this one. But right now, what I think this fight's going to come down to is ground game, damage. And ground game, hands down, well, I don't really want to say hands down because I know both of these two robots have great ground game, but I do think Tantrum has the better ground game between the two of them. So what I think we're probably going to need to see is Matt Maxim outdrive Tantrum, and that's not going to be an easy task because like Tantrum, even though Aaron Hill's not there, like that driver has been doing a fantastic job for Tantrum for the most part. Like there have been a few driving errors here and there, but overall he's done a great job. Like it's hard to tell whether Aaron Hill has gone from the team or not, but yeah, it should be interesting anyway, but yeah. Because yeah, while there's been a few driving errors here and there, their driving has been very near like perfect Well, I don't know about perfect, but it's been really good. It is where I'm going with that. So, yeah, we got an excellent driving performance. This is another battle where I think it's going to come down to driving and lots of tactics. I honestly think all four of these fights are just big driving matches because all eight of these teams have a great driver in them, great robots. So, so what I think this is going to come down to is can Cobalt get those big hits they are well known for? Because Cobalt's got to win the ground game against Tantrum here, and that's not going to be an easy task. So yeah, so my prediction is going to be Cobalt for this one. Like I do believe Cobalt will be able to get the big hit in, but it's not going to be an easy task because but I think one slip up by Tantrum could be the end of Tantrum because I am concerned based off of their past two fights that if Cobalt can get underneath the sides like near the wheels like they could damage and disable a side of drive with that similar to what we saw in the Gigabyte fight and in parts of the Rotator fight. So that's kind of what I'm going for with this prediction, and I'm going Cobalt for this. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the top four. All right, here are my top four. And like I said, these are just predictions. I'd be shocked if I predicted all four of those top eight matchups correctly. So so yeah, I'm kind of going off of my predictions and gonna take on these two and predict who I think would win if these four were to all advance. But like I said, I would be shocked if I got all four of those fights right because like literally all four of those fights could go either way. So all right, so let's first talk about Minotaur versus Riptide, and that would be an epic showdown between the two of them. I feel like man, like a battle between two powerful drum spinners in that one. And that would just be such a fun showdown to see. So, yeah. So right now I'm going to predict Minotaur for this one. And here's kind of why. Cuz like overall these two are very similar designs. Cuz like they're both like the only real difference between the weapon is that Riptide's an egg beater and Minotaur is a full-on drum spinner. But then both of these two robots, they hit so hard and pack a lot of kinetic energy into their opponent. So I expect if these two were to meet, we're going to see a destructive showdown between the two of them. I like Minotaur for this one. Like, I'm not sure who has the more powerful drum spinner between the two of them, because both of these drum spinners have proven to have a lot of power in them. But I'm kind of going Minotaur with this one, because Minotaur seems to be the more reliable robot between the two of them, because we have seen Riptide have issues, like late into some of their fights, like Defender and Duck as well. But either way, though, I don't see if these two were to meet, I don't see this one going the full 3 minutes. I bet we're gonna see a knockout. And and then the other thing is, I feel Minotaur is the more like not. I feel Minotaur is the more better driven robot. Yeah, I already said more reliable and more durable, but those are some of the advantages I feel Minotaur has between them. But I think if these two were to go weapon on weapon, I would honestly predict Riptide wins the weapon on weapon exchange. But like I said, I think this one's going to come down to driving. I like Minotaur with this one, and I think this is going to be a epic showdown if these two were to meet. All right, let's go ahead and move on where we got Blip versus Cobalt. So, yeah, Blip, the one robot that wasn't in my that wasn't in my final four from my last prediction podcast, up against Cobalt here. So, yeah, this is that would be a heck of a showdown between those two, and I feel this one's gonna come down to like driving once again. All of these fights are gonna come down to driving overall because like if these two go head on, I think Blip is gonna hands down win that weapon on weapon or win that head on exchange because I think Blip is definitely the lower to the ground robot between the two of them. So anyway, I'm going to predict I am actually going to predict Cobalt for this one. Here's why. Because I think if Aaron Hill slips up and Cobalt gets to the sides of Blip, which I think will be a very difficult task because Aaron Hill is an outstanding driver. He has done such a good job at keeping his front towards his opponents. Like, I don't think that even one robot so far has gotten to the sides, the back side of Blip so far. And a lot of that is due to Aaron Hill's amazing driving. So Matt Maxim's definitely going to have a challenge for him here. But what I will say is, I hope a Flipperbot makes it to the final, even wins the giant nut, because we haven't seen a control type robot win ever since Bite Force won the giant nut in 2015 with his control bot. So, but yeah, so basically what I'm saying is I think it'd be really cool to see Blip or Hydra take the giant nuts. And yeah, because like I said, like the past 4 seasons, it's been all spinners winning the giant nut, and I think it'd be really cool to see a non-spinner take it for once. And but yeah, I am going. Even despite what I just said, I'm probably gonna predict Cobalt because if they can get that one hit in, I am concerned on how well Blip can actually take those spinner shots, and that's why I'm going to predict Cobalt for this one. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get to my finals matchup. Yeah, where you can see my result. So, yeah, so I have Minotaur and Cobalt in the final, and I have Minotaur winning the whole thing. I first want to say that I would be even more shocked if I get the final two correct as well. Because like I said, all 8 of these robots have potential to win the giant nut. So, like we're going to see a really exciting episode next Thursday. And yeah, so Minotaur and Cobalt, I have Minotaur winning it because I like the power in that drum spinner of Minotaur, and I think if they can win the ground game against Cobalt, which I probably would lean towards Minotaur just barely, but I could easily see Cobalt taking it too. We could see a repeat of Fusion versus Cobalt. We could see Minotaur bend up the frames, bend up the forks, jack them all up, to where Cobalt might not even be able to get a hit in. But of course, if Cobalt can win the ground game early against Minotaur and just start digging in with that vertical spinner, I think it could be the end for Minotaur. So, yeah, this one, another one that's going to come down to driving. Literally all 7 of these matchups that I'm predicting will come down to who can drive the fight better between the two of them. And I think we're in for a really exciting treat. So, yeah, my predicted champ is going to be Minotaur. I've been sticking with them ever since the beginning of the season. Like I'm I'm shocked that Minotaur has made it this far, despite that I've been predicting them to win the whole thing. So, but we're in for a really exciting episode. I have Minotaur taking it, and you see my bracket right there. So anyway, I think this will probably close it out for the podcast. So thank you for watching this podcast. Be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button. I do. Yeah, tomorrow we'll actually be recording the episode 12 review podcast, and then next weekend we'll record the episode 13 podcast on this, and not long after that, I bet we're gonna see whatever the off-season type thing is going to be, whether that's bounty hunters or whatever that is. That's probably going to get announced soon. I do plan to do podcasts on those once again. Like, yeah, I think you get the idea. So, anyway, thanks for checking out this podcast. Thanks for all your support, everybody. We'll only have a few podcasts left for the main competition and a few for Bounty Hunters. I do have a few plans for podcasts I want to do during the off season that I look to record during that time, and it should be a great time. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you for the next podcast.